to my channel. Today is going to be a little bit more of a personal video for me, and I've noticed that on the internet there is not a lot of videos or helpful articles on this subject. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my IBS diagnosis, also known as irritable bowel syndrome, as well as my recent health developments, including a gluten intolerance and dairy intolerance. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So it all started back in 2017, which was my junior year of high school. And I started getting these sharp abdominal pains out of nowhere, when I was stressed out, or if I heard arguments or something that just really got my heart going. It would feel like there were a million needles stabbing my abdomen. And the first thing we did was my mom took me to the ER, and they thought maybe you have a blockage and sent me to this free clinic across town. So I go to this free clinic and they, feel around my stomach. They said, well, you might have a blockage. So, once I got to go, I did the test, but they also had me do magnesium citrate, which, if you don't know what that is, it helps people get rid of blockages because it helps you, in other words, don't poop. It's not fun as much as, I was like, oh, it's not affecting me. They told me I had to stay home from school. The next day, all just started coming, and I was like, there's no difference. Even though that was a lot of my system, I was still having a lot of abdominal pains. So the next step was going to the pediatrician, and at that point I was already getting really moody and I was getting upset because no matter what I ate, how I felt, no matter what I did, I still had pain and I still just didn't feel good. And he said that it sounds like sensitive stomach issues, and he wanted to make sure that, I didn't have anything wrong with my insides. And I was just kind of frazzled over the whole subject because he started talking about an endoscopy, and I was like, I don't like hospital procedures, but he said I'd be put to sleep and everything, but he wanted me to talk to a specialist first. So then my mom and I went to a specialist, and I actually liked my specialist, and the pediatrician and the specialist were honestly the most helpful doctors out of that whole situation because, they got right to the point, they did the procedure, and the endoscopy didn't show anything, but judging by all of my symptoms, it led to irritable bowel syndrome and sensitive stomach issues. And I don't even call it sensitive stomach issues anymore for the simple fact I just don't see it as sensitive stomach issues because there's so much more than that. I mean, there's the, going to the bathroom issues, the nausea, sharp abdominal pains, especially when I've been stressed out and anxious, and that's actually gotten worse throughout the years. After I went to see the specialist, we did the endoscopy, and it was actually funny afterwards, because they gotta put you to sleep, and then you wake up and you act silly for a little bit, and I was like, Mom, I'm a shark. And I was eating my little goldfish, so that was a plus side besides getting to eat pancakes. But after I was told that nothing showed up and people were basically diagnosing me with IBS-like symptoms, I told myself, you know what? It's IBS. Let's just move on, get on with the program. And the hardest part after the diagnosis was changing my eating habits, which I actually didn't do well the first round, because if I didn't eat anything, my stomach burned. If I ate, I had sharp abdominal pains. But then also when I got stressed out and I had anxiety over figuring out what I was going to eat, I was also having sharp abdominal pains. So it was kind of a lose-lose situation, and it's odd because I was stressed out to the max, and then one of my family members CPS'd overseas, and that person was one of my main sources of stress. And once that person moved away, I didn't have pains. All my symptoms went away. I actually went back to eating how I did before because everything kind of disintegrated. And this was over a period of, I want to say, anywhere between 4 and 6 months between the diagnosis, the changes, and then that one individual moving away, and all of my stress was just gone. It disappeared, and I was very stressed out, whether it was in the house, at school, or just walking around this. So with that being said, all overall, I was put on the magnesium citrate, like I said previously, to try to figure out if it was a blockage. I'm looking at my notes down here, so don't mind that. They did tell me that I could go on antacids, which is just like Tums, or you can even get Mylanta, which is like a liquid antacid. I personally feel like the liquid one works better because when you take it, it coats all around your stomach. It doesn't just dissolve, it actually coats everything. And I prefer that one. You know, I take Tums with me everywhere still today because there are some times where I eat something or, you know, I start to get heartburn. Last but not least, they did tell me to change my diet. Like I said, when I stopped getting stressed and you know, what I was eating wasn't hurting my stomach, I just went back to eating how I did. And I didn't see a problem with it. I didn't think there was an issue. They did tell me that the primary causes for my issues with IBS was anxiety and stress. And I'm pretty sure you all are like, how many times is she gonna say stress? If you can count how many times I say stress in this video, comment that down below. Because that is the primary reason for me being diagnosed with IBS. Now, after I didn't have any symptoms or anything, that all started my junior year of high school. I am in my freshman year of college now, and I've had some new health developments, which I'm actually shocked about because they came out of nowhere. I was like, where did this come from? I thought at first that it might have been my IBS coming back. But then all these other symptoms showed up, which I'm going to get into here in a few minutes. I was shocked when the symptoms kept piling on and on and on and on. And I was like, what is my body doing? Like, what's going on? And I started noticing things were wrong when I was bloating. And, you know, yes, females bloat. It's not, you know, abnormal. And at that point I was on my cycle, but then when I got off my cycle, I was looking at my stomach and I was like, I look like I'm done with my first trimester of pregnancy. Like, what's going on? And it kind of had me a little bit worried because it wasn't just like, you know, if you have your cycle bloating, it's kind of soft in a way, but my bloating was actually like my stomach puffed out and it was rock hard. Like, it actually hurt to breathe and it wouldn't go down. And I was like, I don't get it, because the size of my bloating would actually vary day to day. And I was trying to figure out, you know, what could this be? You know, I've heard of bloating during IBS, and I've heard of different things happening or developing after you've been diagnosed with IBS. And I did research, and I finally decided to just suck it up and go to the doctor. But right before I went to the doctor, my mom and I, against all better judgment, we went on Google, and my symptoms pointed to celiac disease. Now, I will say, after a lot of work, we did figure out that it was not celiac disease. Rather, it's a gluten intolerance. And it actually took a while for me to figure that out because we were trying to figure this out since, I want to say, end of January, early February of this year. Because I went to my primary doctor, who actually really upset me because I told him what I was eating and my symptoms and when, you know, they acted up. And he said, well, why don't you try going on a gluten-free diet? And I was really upset when I was sent to the specialist after waiting almost 2 weeks, I want to say. And she said that because I went on a gluten-free diet, that I had to subject myself to going back into a gluten-filled diet, subjecting myself to pain for an extra 4 to 6 weeks before we could do another endoscopy and biopsy. I was really upset when I left both of those appointments because, one, my primary doctor, I really am not a fan. I don't agree with a lot of what he's told me, and I thought, you know, that it was going to be different, but it wasn't. He's honestly just like every other doctor I've gone to with this issue. The specialist, I appreciated her efforts, and, you know, I actually think she's almost up there with the first specialist I went to. So After I found out that it wasn't celiac, it was a gluten intolerance, it totally made sense because I started looking back at my eating patterns, and anything I ate that had bread, flour tortillas, uh, pasta, that was a big one, pasta that I was eating, and it's like I could eat it and right away I'd have to run to the bathroom because it went right through. And not to mention there was also a lot of gas right when I ate something that has gluten, and that still happens today. If even if it doesn't say gluten free but there's no gluten listed or maltodextrin, then I eat it, and I will know, like my body knows if there's gluten in it because I will have to run to the bathroom less than 5 minutes after eating it. So that is something that's honestly a little hard for me to work with as of now. I've been gluten free now for, I think, I want to say either just under or just over a month. And in addition to everything else, I'm going to look down at my notebook here and tell you guys all of these symptoms that I have been having that have grown onto each other. So I said stuff about the bloating, and besides the bloating, there was a combination. It's probably going to be a little bit of TMI, but for people that want answers, I'm going to give them to you. I was having diarrhea as well as constipation back and forth, and I could have both of them in one day. It didn't matter, if you had diarrhea one day or constipation the next. It's just a vicious cycle. I also have a lot of headaches and migraines, which I was told were originally allergy induced. But then I started looking at, I guess, also my headache patterns because I kept a journal. For lunch, I basically come home and I will eat a sandwich, some fruit, and chips. And I noticed while I was still eating gluten that I had a headache as soon as I was done eating, and I had to go lay down to get rid of it. So it made sense to me. I was like, this is kind of strange. And since I cut gluten out of my diet, I've actually had way less headaches. So that's actually a great improvement. And if you guys question your headaches or you have it right after you're eating, I would say go check that out by a doctor. Also, fatigue is a big thing because I would be able to just get up, I would eat breakfast, go run some errands, and as soon as I got home, I'd have to go to sleep. I would be sitting there falling asleep on my feet. It didn't matter what I had to do. It didn't matter, if I had class, like I forced myself to go to class, but I would be sitting there falling asleep, even though I didn't know I was falling asleep. I said things about the sharp pains, and as well as sharp pains normally hand in hand, I did have acid reflux, mainly when I had Taco Tuesday, or if I had chili or something, because the acid of course built up in my stomach and it came up when I burped. Next is sleeping issues and throwing up, and I put these hand in hand because I get really sick and I feel nauseous when I can't sleep or when I have trouble staying awake. So at nighttime, I will try to lay down, and there are certain ways that if I lay, I will actually sit there and vomit, just out of nowhere. And it was kind of driving me crazy because there were certain positions I couldn't lay in because I just had to throw up. You never know what's going on, and even though you might not get a clear and concise answer, you at least will be able to get pointed in the right direction. Hopefully, your doctor knows what to do in any instance of what is considered an invisible illness. Now, itching was something that caught me off guard because I've noticed, with my cosmetics, with the products I use in the shower, my dog's licking me, and when I even touch something with gluten, I actually got really itchy. My dogs eat, their dog food. So I checked their ingredients to see, if it had gluten in it, because my dog Angel, she would lick my face and my face would start getting splotchy and itchy, and I was like, what? So when I was told about the gluten, I went and looked, and I've been kind of paranoid looking at everything. And I was like, that explains it, because the gluten is still in her saliva, so when she kisses me, I will get itchy. And the same with all of my cosmetics and my bathroom products. They all had gluten in it as well, so I changed everything. And everything that I've changed to, I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys in future videos, because it is my goal to help you guys go through this journey with me. And if you need advice or anything, don't hesitate to try to message me, because I'm here with all of you that are going through the same thing. But not least, I have my dairy issues. So I do not have a full dairy intolerance. However, I cannot stand to drink milk. Eggs give me the same symptoms as gluten does. Certain cheeses do. So when I say certain cheeses, I mean I can have aged cheese, like extra sharp cheddar or queso fresco. If it's just like that, I don't want to diss Kraft here, but if it was something like, you know, quick and easy, just go get the Kraft cheese from Walmart, I cannot eat that. I cannot eat that. That will run right through and make me feel horribly sick. And the same with dairy. If I have it and it's something that's not sitting right, I will get extremely bloated. And I am going to put some pictures like in the video comparing my bloating from morning to night. And I have a prime example that actually just happened a couple of days ago. So I had this cheese dip a couple months back and it didn't faze me. You know, it was cheddar, it had chorizo, and I ate it just fine a couple months ago. I go on my most recent grocery shopping trip and I got that and some gluten-free chips. I went to eat it and I had to run to the bathroom and I was like, this is not right, because I've had this before. So then I looked at my stomach and my stomach grew like 4 times its original size and I was shocked. I was actually throwing a fit. Like I sent my mom pictures of my bloating and what happened because I ate that cheese dip, because I take pictures in the morning and then nighttime and I compare it back and forth. The last thing that I'm going to touch on this subject is the dietary options I was given to go on. So the first thing was FODMAP, and I stayed on it for a couple months. It was difficult. It was beneficial, but I didn't really like it. Then I was told about the paleo and Mediterranean diet, and I think the number one thing that I can get on with that diet is fish, because I actually really like fish. I like fish, crab legs, shrimp, and I'm getting back into eating fresh vegetables too. I am back on fruits, vegetables, fish, chicken, and turkey only. That is all I'm eating for my lunch and dinner. My breakfast, I found gluten-free cereals. I'm not going to give up my breakfast foods. I'm really weird about that because I feel strongly about breakfast. So normally it's Cheerios and a banana. And just an FYI to everyone out there, all Cheerios are gluten-free. So if you're on this journey and you don't know what to do for breakfast, start out with Cheerios. I can say the chocolate Cheerios, berry Cheerios, and the blueberry Cheerios are all amazing. With all this being said, yes, I do have IBS, gluten intolerance, and dairy intolerance. And I just want everyone to know that even though this is how I got diagnosed and my symptoms and what I'm doing to fix it, you guys don't have to do this. And this may not affect you in the same way, but I cannot find a single video that had thorough, I guess, instructions on anything. And that's what this channel is going to be changed into, because I have previous videos on this channel. And now I'm going through this and I got frustrated looking for research. So now all the information I could not find, I want to pass on to you guys. I hope that this video has helped someone and it's given someone faith that, you know, your eating life is not over. So I will hopefully look forward to seeing all of you in my future videos, and I can't wait for you guys to see what's coming up next. Bye, you guys.